The afternoon, open the regular afternoon meeting for the Klickitat County Commissioners. Excuse me. This is my first public hearing, so be patient with learning how it functions to open the meeting. So we will, the purpose of the meeting, we're going to be taking public testimony for the purpose of a hearing for the Title 12, this one? Okay. Declare to consider the granting of a franchise agreement between Klickitat County and Click Networks LLC. And we'll be receiving public testimony and comment regarding the proposed franchise for both for and against. And we'll give the board an opportunity to request clarifications of public statements as well as ask staff questions. Is there further public comment? Jeff, do you need to give an overview of the project first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Steve. You kind of just follow through them one at a time. And
Okay.
Okay, so we'll start with the staff quick briefing on franchise agreement. I know what drives a lot of the comments is the name of it. I don't have an option. It's named by RCW. We have to use the name of a franchise agreement. That is, it's RCW. There's a lot of RCWs that control what a franchise agreement is. Franchise agreement it's for all future and county right-of-ways that are included in this area. It's not a small area. It's actually for the whole county right-of-way with Click Networks. It's for fiber line. But on this franchise agreement protects the county. Like I've said many a times before, it is not an agreement but again, we go back to the use and the word. When people hear franchise, they think that we're created some sort of
business alliance.
Yes, there is no business alliance at all. This is just an agreement for us to say that yes, since they are franchised, they can put utilities in our right of way, but at the same time, the county taxpayers are not liable to have those utilities relocated if we need to do a project. The franchise or whoever owns those utilities is on the hook for them. This franchise agreement has a 50-year term, and it doesn't mean they can just go in and put utilities wherever they want. They still have to come to us. They still have to get a permit. This allows them to be there. And so we can't remove, it does not prohibit us from adding more utilities or doing whatever we want to do in the right of way. At the same time, it does not give them rights to go outside of our right of way, not to private property. That is up, but that's between them and the franchisee themselves. I think that kind of concludes my staff update.
Great. So we open the meeting to the public hearing for receiving public testimony now. Is there anyone that would wish to testify? You can come forward and identify yourself for the record.
Engineering at BUD. This to be to a mic. We don't oppose the franchise application. We would just like some language removed from the franchise application. It states to operate and use electric transmission and distribution systems. It creates a unique safety hazard within our district if we have a private distribution and transmission electric facility. Don't know if that's where this franchise is pointing towards. I think it's more related to communications and networking, but it does state electric transmission and distribution systems. So we would like that language struck from their franchise agreement.
Is that more for if they want to use their poles that because there's an electric distribution systems there?
Yes, that's why we have it. So, because I've been trapped in future places. So you guys always work great with us. You move your lines, but if they're on your lines, then, you know, they have an agreement with you, not with us if we don't cover it. So what we're saying in there, and we can think of better language. but
Okay,
What we're saying is even if they have an agreement with you, they're on your lines, they're still under our franchise as long as your lines are in our utilities. If we're getting you to move, they have to move, and they can't come back to us and say, PUD's telling us it's $100,000 to relocate, you need to pay us, because we don't want to pay.
okay. So it sounds like some clarification in the verbiage then would be requested as far as operate and use electric transmission and distribution systems. Maybe something on the lines of maintaining attachment on electric distribution transmission systems as deemed by the counties right away.
Right, well,
Something
we'll
of
come
that
up with
sort.
something, where we can work with you on something.
Okay,
too. Because again, our biggest concern is, and I've run into this in other places, you have an agreement with them to hang on your lines, and then they say that agreement circumscribes our agreement and now you're charging them, not us. So,
correct. We do have our own attachment policy, so that does make sense.
so yeah, we can work on some language that's a little more specific to that.
Okay.
Everybody's happy.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Anyone else that has public comment for or against the proposal? Oh, forgot about Zoom.
Jeannie.
Hey,
Good
this is Jean
Good
Patterson.
afternoon, Jean.
Hi, can you hear me?
A little quiet,
Is that better?
a little better.
Okay, hang on. I'll work on stuff and you can ask somebody else. Sorry.
You want to move to Dinah while she works on that? I think that's what
like-
she said.
Yeah, to take. So Diana, would you like to go first?
Yes, I can go ahead. I sent this, I'll just read a letter I sent late last night regarding this. I'm representing the Trout Lake Community Council here in Trout Lake, Washington. Please accept these comments regarding the granting of a franchise agreement between Klickitat County and Click Networks LLC. This franchise agreement would allow Click Networks LLC to construct, maintain, and operate wires and other equipment upon, under, along, and across various county roads. Access to affordable and speedier internet is greatly needed in Klickitat County, especially for those in rural areas. While there may be internet accessible to most households in the Trout Lake area, much of what is affordable has extremely low upload speeds with little or no opportunity to upgrade. Satellite internet is available in our area, but the cost of such service is prohibitive, most especially for those with limited financial resources. I'm sure other rural areas in our county are faced with these same challenges. We encourage the county to continue to put emphasis on improving internet and access to internet in the county. We are supportive of the granting of the franchise agreement with Click Networks LLC. We also are supportive of efforts towards pursuing federal and state grants associated with improving and/or expanding internet access in the rural areas of Klickitat County. Thank you for considering our comments.
Thank you, Diana. Any comments or questions from commissioners? Nothing there. So back to Jean.
Hey, is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Thank you so much. And I appreciate your patience. Hey, good afternoon. This is Jean Patterson. I'm from Snowden. I'm here to show support in favor of the franchise agreement between Klickitat County and Click Networks LLC. Over the past year, I've watched as Click Networks engaged with community councils to express intentions to be a part of the efforts to improve Klickitat County's residents' access to reliable and affordable internet services. I engaged directly with Mr. Shane Milburn, Click Network's Chief Technology Officer, and I had my own questions about Click Network's intended methods of providing internet. Mr. Milburn carefully addressed my inquiries with clear knowledge about the services that Click Networks intends to deliver. And I'm most encouraged by this hearing for the franchise agreement between Klickitat County and Click Networks LLC, as it displays a decisive step forward in the longstanding challenge of bringing affordable and reliable internet services to more Klickitat County homes. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else on Zoom? Again, back in the room, anyone else would like to give public? We do. 211.
Greg Wagner, Cease. Listening to the first conversation with PUD and the writing of language, I'd like to know who's going to write that language. Is it going to be Jeff Hunter, or will it be done by the prosecuting attorney, somebody with legal knowledge of how to write a document? Can't just have a vague document like so many of the county documents are. The other question is, when the county right-of-way is full of franchise agreements, whether it's communications, power lines, whatever, and somebody comes along and wants another franchise agreement in that same right-of-way, and the land is not available, what happens? Does the county come in and extend the right-of-way into a private person's property and take land from them? I'd like to know what happens in that case. Thank you.
Thank you. Any response?
We're supposed to do that.
It's,
Later, okay.
yeah, it's
Move through
public
everything.
comment, not
Okay, we'll give them,
discussion.
okay, that's perfect. So back in the room. Seeing no one back on Zoom. Is there anyone else on Zoom?
2662.
2662.
Hello, commissioners. I'm not sure how this hearing works. Do I speak on both the franchise and the Title 12, or is there time
Just-
for in each one?
Just the franchise at this point is what we're discussing.
Okay, so just the franchise. Okay, so and is it 3 minutes?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Would you start my timer now then? So Click Networks, I looked them up on the FCC website, and they have the business listed there, but they only have the business listed as providing telecommunication services, and it ended on 2020. They did not put in their 449 form, so they are not listed under the FCC to provide telecommunications as of 2020. And then I did find them on another item here where they were asking for money. And I'm just going to read what they said. So internet for Wasco, Sherman, and Hood River counties. As rural residents here in the Columbia River Gorge, we have experienced firsthand the lack of broadband in our counties. So it says fiber is expensive and difficult to bury based on the terrain, which is why we formed Click Networks to bring reliable high-speed internet to counties along the Columbia River Gorge. Our solution has been specifically designed for the unique challenges of rural communities and is successfully used throughout several provinces in Canada and our First Nations land, as well as large ISPs in rural Virginia. We use a combination of interconnected carrier-grade wireless mesh networking nodes and fiber connection points to create data pipelines, allowing us to deliver internet at a significantly lower cost to traditional fiber and broadband solutions. So I understand in the franchise agreement, Click Networks is saying that they're going to put in fiber lines, but in this document, they're saying that they use interconnected fiber lines and mesh networks or nodes. The other thing is why is this for all of Klickitat County? Some of us have internet and we have choices, and we like our choices. This would give a monopoly for Klickitat County, if this is put through, that they would have our network, they would be our network provider. So the franchise should include areas that have been known to not have broadband or not have the ability to have broadband, such as the Trout Lake area, and not the full blanket of Klickitat County. I'm against the franchise agreement. And I think that we'll have a lot more outages like what Jeff King was talking about with CenturyLink and the 911 dispatch, you know, if we have this franchise. So I know my time is probably up. So thank you very much.
Very close. Thank you very much. Anyone else with their hand up? And we have somebody in the public come forward.
Can you share a mic with the?
I'm Shane Milburn. I'm owner and founder of Click Networks. So to answer a couple of those comments, we're not in the FCC database because we were a company that formed last year, and we're not providing internet service yet. So we haven't turned up services, so you're not required to file your forms to the FCC stating what speeds and offerings you have until you actually have service. We will have all of that when we turn up service. Some of the other comments on that were, yes, we do offer some wireless, but we are primarily doing fiber in as many locations as we can. But fiber is expensive to pull, whether you're doing aerial or under the ground. So we are looking at a combination, and there are options where, you know, somebody has a really long driveway, mile down a road, 1 or 2 houses. That's really expensive to get fiber to. So in order to keep our costs down and still provide service, we can provide wireless, still get good speeds. Doesn't mean we're providing fixed wireless from a tower, or we have a number of different options behind us, but our primary driver is fiber, as many houses as we can serve. We are initially and the other comment of a monopoly on the county, that's not actually the case, right? It's none of the other services are going away. Anybody else who does provide internet, you still have choices as a consumer. We're just going to be another one, right? There are limited number of choices out there today. And I know a number of the commissioners are working with the broadband action teams, as well as, you know, the various councils and the state broadband, you know, commission, trying to figure out how to get more options. Right? But there are, you know, let's face it, there are not a lot of internet providers around, especially when you get out in the rural areas, because costs per mile go up significantly. Right? That's why we started this company, was in order to help try to drive that and solve it, instead of just blanketing the county. Right? No, it'd be nice one day if we were covering the entire county with service, but that's not our intention. Our intention is to serve as many homes as we can. We build small networks versus one giant contiguous network, so that it allows us to control our costs, right? There is fiber throughout the county, and there are places we can tap into that would tie our network into the internet, right? And that's kind of our design solution behind it.
Thank you. Okay. Back on Zoom. Anybody else would like to comment on the franchise agreement? What is it for?
4901.
4901.
Yes, good afternoon, commissioners. This is Sherry in Houston. And, you know, I haven't looked into this a whole lot, but I don't know if you all recall when I made comments about the Avangrid franchise and the Bluebird project. And, you know, we've been talking a lot lately as the people, you know, concerned with what contracts our county corporation makes and with who. And, you know, I just have a lot of concerns of how up and up all this is with the franchising, with the private. Well, let's just say I'm kind of opposed against public-private partnerships and in general, because if you're our government and we're giving you money to be our government and to provide us with utilities and services as our government, then it should stay within the government and regulated by the government and not private businesses. And if public utilities such as fiber lines that are installed by the public dollars, or data centers that are bought with public government money, and perhaps it's the wireless or the new smart meters, those are nodes as well too. And if a private company is going to tap into publicly funded, you know, utilities with public money, and to profiteer off that public money spent, data centers, fiber lines, smart meters, you know, I come back to I want my government to look at where we're contracting and with who and for what. And is the company up and up? You know, I told you about the lawsuits with Adam Grid. We don't even know to go into that. But again, let's go back to public monies to build public infrastructure to stay with the government and not be franchising out to private companies to profit and gain off public bought utilities. I hope that makes sense. I just don't think that's right to do that. So I'm opposing the franchise until, you know, it can be looked into more and maybe discuss why is the government giving our publicly funded utilities rights and use to profit? Why isn't the government profiting or something? Why doesn't the government build its own network and sell it to the people? Okay, I'm against private, or what is it, public-private partnership, PPPs, and I think that we should look at who we're contracting with, since you represent the people. I hope you're making good contracting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sherry.
Can I ask a clarification question of staff?
Yes.
Okay. Does Public Works plan to enter into any public-private partnership with this organization?
No.
I didn't believe so. Is Public Works planning on spending any public money and giving any public money to this organization to put in wires in the right of way?
No, if we don't sign the agreement, we will be though.
If we don't sign the agreement, we could potentially be using county money to move their lines later
Yes,
because they get to put them in the right of way, whether we like it or not, correct?
that is correct, sir.
All we are doing with the franchise agreement is protecting county taxpayers from having to move the wires down the road.
Yes,
Is that correct? Thank you. Just wanted to make sure I had my thinking straight.
you are correct.
Thank you. 2662.
I just wanted to make a note that, so in the
Tracy, I'm sorry.
proposal for the,
We
Yeah.
can't take any
No, but I
further
was gonna
comment.
say that-
Thank you. Anyone else? And anybody in the room? So do you have questions you'd like to ask, Mr. Anderson?
Just want to make very certain for the public, this is a non-exclusive
That is
franchise
correct.
agreement. If it was an exclusive franchise agreement, then where you gave them authority, then another provider could not come in, but none of this is exclusive.
That is
So,
correct.
Wanted to make that clear for the people that were calling in.
Anything else from you,
Not that I have questions on.
Mr. Christopher? And I have none.
I actually have a procedural question,
Okay.
if that works. If we obviously have the draft of a franchise agreement, if we so choose to vote on it today and sign it today. But there's been a proposal from the PUD to change wording.
Mhm.
So with that being said, how would that work? Would you need to provide the board a new copy if that's what the board so chose to do? Was something of accept this with the amendment of the wordage you'll work on with them? Would we be having a vote on that today? Because we haven't seen that wordage, or should we be holding that vote over for a following week when we see that verbiage?
My recommendation would be to carry the continue the hearing. We will get with PUD, write it, and this gives me an opportunity to address Mr. Wagner's comment. No, we do not write agreements. Yes, we draft them. Public Works drafts them. They are approved by our attorneys. Nothing is signed by the board that comes from our department that doesn't go through our prosecuting attorney first. So no, we don't draft them in without. So what my suggestion what my recommendation to the board would be is we would work with PUD. We would draft up some language, would send it over there, get their okay. Then it goes back to our PA. So it would be, it's going to be a few weeks before we were able to. That way I wouldn't ask the board to sign on language that they have not seen.
Correct. Just wanted to clarify that for anybody out there that thought we were signing language we haven't seen. So
And
that's all the clarification questions I have. So
So I have one question. If we're going to change language, will we continue the public hearing then?
That's what I would suggest.
Okay.
yes.
It's a matter of, if I may, it's a matter of whether we continue the hearing and leave it open for written comment. And if we do, for how long do we leave it open for written comment?
Okay,
That would be the clarification on the continuous.
Yes.
okay. Is there any further public comment from anyone who hasn't had an opportunity? No? Nobody out there, so we'll close the public hearing for public testimony today. And I don't think that I close it to further public testimony, because what happened, I think we'll be taking a motion to carry it forward. How do we proceed from here?
I would close it to further public oral testimony.
Verbal, okay, so,
I don't see an issue with it.
okay,
I think we can close it to further public testimony, both oral and written. And then direct staff to make the changes based on the recommendation of the
Language.
PUD.
Mhm.
Would that work for you,
yes.
commissioners?
Work for me personally, I have no problem with it. I wonder if the public will take offense to not being able to comment on whatever the wordage change is, and they may, but I can't imagine there's anything in that wordage change that they could technically take offense to. So, yeah, I'm fine for closing it.
To,
For
So
all
public
all
testimony.
public testimony.
Okay.
Have staff prepare a document to give back to us in future weeks.
okay.
Um,
And do we need a motion to do any of that, or we just instruct staff to move forward?
You will have to make the public hearing closer.
Okay, so in conclusion, for the record, the public hearing has been closed to further public testimony. And
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to revert the terms and conditions of the franchise agreement back to the Public Works Department to work on minor language changes through negotiation with the PUD to bring to the board for consideration in the future date.
Okay, I will second that motion.
motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? No opposed, motion carries. So we will see you in the future on the franchise agreement.
One comment, hopefully when you work this out with PUD and through the prosecutor and all that, we can incorporate this language into, make it a well-rounded so it can be used in other documents and we don't run into this again.
Yes, we'll have it. It'll be our new
Okay,
standard.
Okay.
I mean,
I figured, I just wanted to make sure. I
no,
threw that out.
that's fine. It's the first time I've been, but it's okay. Things
I didn't
change.
say we probably have a lot of policy or franchises that have that.
Yeah, I mean, they're not a new thing. We've done quite a few of them, but they've always been that, but that's okay. I'm willing to, we can make clarifications. It's fine.
Yep.
Okay,
I'd like to say thank you to staff for all your work and thank you to the public who took an interest in this as well as the applicant. It's always good to see competition in the marketplace, especially when it comes to broadband. So thank you.
some positive movement.
I really wish we could change the terminology from franchise agreement to
County
something
protection
Something.
clause.
protects the taxpayer dollars
That's a good one.
agreement. Go to Olympia and get them to change the terminology.
Great.
Yeah, that's not, Olympia does not have creative work.
Okay, so we will declare the public hearing open, advising the purpose of the hearing is to take testimony for or against the proposed revision to Title 12 Transportation Standards. And do we have a staff update?
We do. We'll make this again fairly brief and fairly quick. This has been a long process. The first committee, we started the committee back in, I want to say February of 20. I don't actually have that date. Get on that, but
Early on in our tenure.
yes, the first committee meeting was actually held April 22nd of 2021. It's gone out to the public many a times. There's been many changes over the years to this document. Again, it's a long procedure. This, it's usually every 20 years a county will attempt this because it is a long procedure. It takes a lot of staff time. We put a committee together, a very skilled people with a lot of experience that helped. We did not write this in a closet somewhere. We took a lot of public input. We've reached out to a lot of all the fire districts, the community councils. We've received comments. We've addressed those comments. We've worked through it with them. We provided meetings with them. So I think we've done something. What you're looking at is the latest or the last one. There have been some minor revisions. When I say minor, I mean language cleanups. Anytime you get more opportunity, we can always go through it and look at it again. We put it down, and some of that has been stuff that where it may have said may, it now says shall, where it's just very small things that we've changed. We have not highlighted them. Again, we can provide that list if we need to. But again, it's certain things where, like hall, when we read through it, route was left out. So, okay, that route needs to be put in there. That's part of the language. It just happened to get left out. We would have corrected that even if it would have got approved, because those are minor things. It does not change any policy decisions.
No
or
substantive changes of any kind.
anything that the board would have voted on.
Did you say though you made a change from may to shall because that can be considered substantive?
Well, it should have been shall. It said shall in one part and it said may later on.
What was it with regards to?
Let me find one here real quick.
And so you have
Nathan,
a-
which one are we looking at? This.
Do you have a little cheat sheet over there?
I have a
You're looking
cheat
at?
sheet, but it doesn't say shall or may. Oh, yes, it does. Page 13, looky there. So page 13. Let's see. Any new alteration of a plant facility to discuss or approval of a plat submittal to Klickitat County Public Works may require modification, may be required to modify the transportation facility. We said shall be required if they do not meet these standards. Again, those were clarifications because we didn't say, we say they may be required to meet these, to modify the transportation, and left it at that. Okay, that would have worked. That would have been fine. But we said shall if they do not meet these. It's just clearing things.
I think it's the same meaning, just a
Just
a
a
little
different-
clearer way of reading it.
That's how we looked at addressing a lot of the stuff. We changed it to, again, when we have time to go through it again, we went through it and cleared up some of the language, but again, not changing any of the context of the standards. Very careful not to do that. For instance, here's another one. What the original verbiage was this is strictly widening the roadway, not a full construction or reconstruction of the roadway. That was modified to say the roadway improvements may only be minor widening, not full construction or reconstruction of the roadway. However, additional improvements such as slope and ditch work may be required as determined. That kind of thing. Again, that's clarifying. And that the board had asked for more clarification on some of them. Some of them we thought needed a little bit more, but again, we did not change the content of it.
So. Anything else?
Were these minor changes included in the January 30th draft? Or is that
That's new.
between the two?
That's between the two.
Okay.
Mr. Anderson?
We need to move into the public comment.
Okay, so public comment. Do we have a sign-in sheet? This references that we had a sign-in sheet we needed to recognize, but I don't think we do.
No, we didn't bring one.
That's perfect. If we have someone in the room that can come forward or on Zoom, raise your hand and we'll recognize you. And please provide your name and address if you have comment to make. I see no one in the room and I haven't seen anyone on Zoom yet. We
2662.
2662.
While. And I have lots of concerns about this this road Title 12. For one, it's listed under road. So you know that I listen to a lot of commissioner meetings and I respond to a lot of things. And I care about my community, and I live in the unincorporated community. And I have never seen this. So I think roads, I don't think development in unincorporated Klickitat County, which is what this is. It's written by, it's Public Works, the planning department, the engineers, as well as realtors. That should give you an idea. So some of my main concerns are, so the roads are going to be 60 feet for major, minor, and local access. The minimum right-of-way width is 60 feet. That's 30 feet on each side. And I believe it was only 20 feet before. I'm not sure. But it says here, criteria for federal and state funding may require greater traveled way, roadway, and right-of-way width. Greater width also may be required for the construction of bike lanes, equestrian lanes, and other non-motorized use. The shall and the may are also questions of mine. Sidewalk, pedestrian crossing, and shared use paths, when used, shall conform to design perimeters of the standard plans in these standards, page 22 of page 22. The shared use plans paths are another concern. It says are provided as an independently constructed improvement along the frontage of property abutting an existing road, but is not connected to the road. Such improvements shall be constructed in accordance with the provisions outlined in the title in a location approved by the county engineer. Does that mean that these shared pathways can go right alongside our property? That's my question. And then this is also replacing Title 18 and 19, which are very detailed zoning and building requirements, or maybe not building, but zoning. And this shall and may is gonna be the new plan, the new standard plan. I know my time's probably up and the sirens are going off, so I'll let you go.
Thank you, Tracy. So more public comment first, I believe. Anyone else on Zoom?
4901.
4901.
Good afternoon again, commissioners. This is Sherry. I also have concerns how Title 12 can do any superseding on Title 18 and 19, or even become involved in any way, since those titles have their own purpose and zoning is a part of it. And I think that should be looked at from our government, that we shouldn't be, using one title to encroach on other titles such as zoning and what you can do with property and development. It just mixes the waters up and muddies everything. And I think each title should stay in its lane. That's funny, roads. But I also have concerns with the fact of, like the other caller Tracy said, is that, when you widen what the government can take as pathways and roads and encroaching onto other people's property, saying it's a right of way, it's a road. Sorry, we have a right to come through here and build a big old road. And maybe some people might not want that off their property. There might be places that affect people negatively. So, I just have, and also concerns with, why wasn't any of this Title 12 roads concerns really applied to under canvas when we fought that fight? Will under canvas be grandfathered in to meet standards that Title 12 says? That was a huge fight. Title 12 was all over that it's still the issue. That road's not adequate. So, you know, again, I guess my biggest concern is why is Title 12 encroaching on anything regarding zoning or building? That should be its own department and keep it that way. So, you know, I'm not real versed on it, but again, I just hope our government is looking out for the people and their private property and not having things in eminent domain on them, like whatever. So we keep the title separated. That would be good. But I don't think we'll do that because it's already a done deal. So thanks for letting us speak, though. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Sherry. Seeing no one in the room. One last time on Zoom, possibly? Oh, Diana.
Yes, I want to make sure that on this comment, I'm making it as an individual, not as representing the Trout Lake Community Council. I live at 2274 Highway 141 in Trout Lake. My comments are more along kind of as a council member that we were working with Public Works last year and had a Zoom meeting with Jeff and others and provided written comment to Title 12. And my main comment is that I have not seen the latest version. Somehow we got dropped off the mailing list with regard to that. Maybe it's the same version that he shared with us in November at our Zoom meeting. But I, as an individual, I'm supportive of ensuring that our county roads are built and maintained to a standard that ensures that we're not causing adverse effects to waterways and such. Thus ends my comments.
Thank you.
Code 7211.
Which one? 2711?
This is Greg Wagner with Cease. I heard the discussion there about language. Words are very important. The word may is permissive. Look in the county codes. The definition of may is permissive. That means it's not defined as a single act where it has to be abided by. It's open to interpretation. That was the problem with, and still is the problem with, the model decommissioning plan. Words are important, should and shall. That was changed in the model decommissioning plan. We need to have the right words in there because words are important. Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, he said it came down to the word is in his defense. So words are important. If you don't get it right now, in the future, people can take advantage of the poor language that this county puts in their documents. And that's pretty prevalent in many of the county codes and county documents. We want to have all the policies followed so that one man follows the policies. It's time to make sure the policies are all worded properly so that they can't be used against the county and the citizens, costing the citizens a lot of money. And I'd also like to know is all these hours, well, I'll let it go at that. Words are important. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And anyone else? So Title 12 road standards, is there anybody else that would like to make a comment today? Seeing none. So I'll give the board an opportunity for clarification of statements and staff questions.
Don't
Mr.
have any.
Sugar?
The statement was made, or question was brought up. Does Title 12 road standards make any changes to Titles 18 and 19?
It does not, they're separate titles, hence the different titles. They can't supersede any of the other titles. They're they're completely different titles.
No other, go ahead.
One other question. Did you review the WUI standards for the new adopted WUI standards that we're all going to fall into. I know in Title 12, it does not deal with driveways, but the new WUI standard does set driveway standards. When we wrote the Title 12 standards, I remember I'd mentioned that the WUI language had these standards, which is about this, I believe it's the same as what the driveway standard is for 2 to 4. So I just wanted to make it clear that it was taken into consideration.
Yeah, we looked at it. We took it into consideration. We didn't follow it because it wasn't adopted standards at the time, and it still hasn't completely been adopted. And we did not want to hold this process up because it may not get adopted, and it may, we used basis to engineering what the engineering national standards are and state standards. One of the things I heard about the 60-foot, it was 60-foot prior to these standards. It's 60-foot today. The only difference is these standards allow for some flexibility on small private roads, not public roads. That's what everybody's referring to. Yes. And that's a totally different, in no way do these standards allow for any condemnation. We cannot do that. There's a process that is followed. And that has to be brought individually for every one of them and has to be brought to the board.
And that is only on public roads.
That is only on public roads, correct? And that does not give us the ability to use that. That's only a board action.
Further clarification or questions from the board? Anyone? Mr. Anderson, you're good. Is there anyone else who would like to provide public comment that did not have an opportunity? Any further discussion by the board?
I have some.
Okay.
You all know me and I like to read everything I sign and I'm sure Public Works has looked at this board with this document and said, oh my God, they're paying attention. Because we've caught wording and we've caught typos and corrections and I would like to thank this board for doing that and actually paying attention. I think that's good, but also with that, I have not seen the changes in the latest wording. It's going to make it very hard for me to sign a document that I have not seen the language and the wording because I'm going to have to agree with Mr. Wagner on this one. Words matter. And to sign it, not that I don't trust, I fully trust, but it's my job to make sure. So I'm requesting that staff provide me with a red line copy of these minor changes.
We will do that because I
So
happen
that
to
I
have
could-
one sitting right here.
I say if you'd have done that yesterday, I wouldn't have needed to do this today. But I'm just one of those that I need to make sure I have seen every I dotted and T crossed when I sign. So that's kind of where I'm at on this topic.
So I think we can declare the hearing is closed to public testimony and a recommendation to staff to get us the red line copy and come back for signatures.
I guess you want me to make it in the form of a motion? Madam Chair, I would make a motion that this hearing be closed to further oral testimony, leaving the record open until Friday at 5 p.m. to written testimony so that anyone from the public who would like to see these minor modifications, including the commissioners, can. And then bring it forward with recommendation for signature next week.
Okay.
Works.
Works for.
Before I make a second, was the motion for continuance of the hearing or close the hearing?
so it's-
close the comment, bring the document forward next Tuesday.
Next week.
Okay,
yes.
I will second. I just needed clarification. Thank you.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Yes.
I would like to say thank you to staff. You have done an admirable job on this. I know it took us all way longer than we had hoped and a lot more work, but you did a great job. You did a great job working with the public and the community councils. You did a great job working with the committee that was formed to work on this. I think that this is this much paper. Goes to show how much work went along with it. And so thank you all for all your hard work. I'd also like to say thank you to the public who commented, as well as the public who commented all throughout the other processes and public hearings that we've had.
Great. Any further discussion?
I would agree with that, and I don't know how anybody that's been following the commissioners didn't know we've been going through Title 12 for the last 2 years. Cause it just seems like it's taken forever, and I've probably got 12 of these darn things as we've sat here in line by line. Now, part of that, yeah, we did a lot of it on Thursday workshops that weren't, so if they did
Yeah.
come on a Thursday, so I guess I'll give them the benefit for that. But yeah, no, there's been a lot of hard work by employees and volunteers in community councils that, I think when this all gets said and done, we'll do some good things, including, but not limited to reducing the cost and the burden on property development, which could lead to some more affordable housing, which I'm encouraged by.
Great. No more discussion. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
And we could say this, the board gets their share too, because like I said, this is a big undertaking. This is something all the counties should be proud of. This takes a lot of time and effort. When we first started this, we told everybody this would take time. And this board has done very good doing their, reading their stuff and providing comments. Again, so
It is a big deal. I was requested by Yakima County Commissioners that were excited that this got done. That wanted a copy of our old one and our new one, of which I sent up to them. That they might be taking on the same process now that they've seen it could be done. So it's good stuff.
with that, I'm gonna give you
Great.
my personal one, because I know how much you like.
Got it done.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Go get the
As long as you don't come up with another draft
Oh,
copy.
there'll
of
be
each
no
of them.
more drafts. We're drafted out.
Otherwise, I'll have to read
Yeah.
that one too.
Yeah. But we had an opportunity to kind of go through it one more time, so we spent one more weekend
I'm-
chewing through it.
I'm sure we will find typos and whatnot
Yeah.
as we go. I'm sure that if new state standards come about, we will just make amendments to this. But it'll be nice to get this behind us and moving forward and all the hard work. I mean, yeah, you too, but I think he's put in more work. So
Thank you very much.
Digital copies.
Digital's fine for me.
Deadline digital.
I got a copy apparently,
Yeah.
so.
So that does it. Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. So next, I think we have Pat Arnold from Trout Lake with a presentation on the Lower White Salmon Coalition Vision Plan. Hi, Pat.
Hi, good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm very sorry I'm not there in person. I'm actually at the Ronald McDonald House in Springfield, Massachusetts, in a different time zone and a different universe, but I did not want to postpone this again, so here I am, and I'll just do my best. I'm making a presentation on behalf of the Lower White Salmon Coalition, which is a group that started meeting in 2016 at the behest of the cabin owners around Northwestern Lake, what was previously Northwestern Lake. During the process of the removal of Condit Dam, the permitting process and everything that preceded it, the cabin owners had made an agreement with PacifiCorp that they would have a right of first refusal on land under and around their cabins. And so in 2016, they decided that it was time to maybe approach PacifiCorp, start talking about what this document actually meant. It was fairly vague in nature. So that led to the Lower White Salmon Coalition. And can I share screen?
I was gonna ask if she had a presentation to give. I have my little thing that you dropped us off, but I don't know that the public. can
Yeah,
see.
I got some copies of the vision plan summary up, and I'm glad to hear you got them, but I do have some slides.
Okay.
I don't know if there's some way for me to share them.
Yep, you should be able to share screen down in the bottom of your tab if we've opened it up for you to share screen.
Okay, let me see more. Share screen. Okay. There we go.
Yep. If you can enlarge that, it would be great.
Okay, let me see what I can do here. I'm on a pretty small computer here, one I could travel with. Is that any better?
Much better.
Hit slideshow. That should work.
Yeah. So this is just a slide that shows the logos of the people who joined the coalition. Once the cabin owners got the conversation started, we kind of brought it home to Klickitat's community counties. And we wrote a mission statement, and these are the groups that signed the mission statement. And then we had advisors from individual people and advisors from staff of a number of organizations, all of whom contributed a great deal. They're all listed in the document you have. I want to start by making note that when the dam was built and when Western settlers arrived here, they moved into an area that was settled and established. It was an established functioning society here. This is the White Salmon here. And I just like this slide because it kind of makes the point that there was a system and a society and economy in place that was severely disrupted, and the dam was part of that disruption. So as we've worked as the Lower White Salmon Coalition, one of our, we have a mission statement. This is the mission statement that everybody signed. The Lower White Salmon Coalition is devoted to creating a long-range strategy to transfer the lands to new ownership and wisely, sustainably manage them in perpetuity. And then we had some goals, and one of the goals is, the second bullet point there is protecting, observing Native American treaty rights and cultural resources. So these are our overriding goals: stewardship, restoration, enhancement of habitat, and so on. I think they're all in your document. You can probably read them. What was remarkable about the coalition was that, Friends of the White Salmon, which I've been active in for a number of years, had a very, very low level of trust with the cabin owners and vice versa. And the groups that came together to form the coalition spent 2 years basically arriving at the mission statement, talking to each other, trying to figure out what we wanted to talk about, what was important about the land, what our goals and mission were. And that was not an easy process, but it was interesting. And we did have participation from staff from Yakima Nation Fisheries. They weren't signatories, of course, but it's always been part of the discussion. And it feels to us a kind of a knitting together of some common interests that maybe had not recognized each other before. So we spent a long time talking. We didn't, and got to the mission statement. The question was, okay, what's next? And at that point, we were able to apply for a technical assistance grant from the National Park Service, Rails Trails Conservation Assistance Program, which doesn't provide money, but it provides staff time. And they helped us move towards this vision plan that you have before you. One of the things that became very important was that we were now 18 or whatever it was, 15 groups sitting around a table and some individuals, but we recognized that we needed to know what the other people around might have thought. So we had a pretty extensive process of community survey, and it was somewhat awkward because just about the time we were going to start having in-person open houses was when COVID shut everything down. So we ended up doing a lot of things online, but we did hold a lot of Zoom meetings. We had a long survey. There's a lot more information about this if you go online to the Lower White Salmon survey. there are various supporting documents, and one of those documents has all the survey questions, all the answers, everything that you would ever want to know about the survey and how we went through this process. But this gives you a summary of, this gives you a summary of what the results were, the where we really had more consensus. So high levels of support for what are identified as consensus items in our report. There were, and this is how they got expressed in the report. This is a, I think this is in the document too. It just identifies various points that we discussed as we went through things, where trails are, where habitat, different things there. So we had consensus around protecting fish and wildlife habitat, managing existing trails, conservation ownership of the former lake bed, protection of fish spawning, safer and fish-friendly boat takeouts, ownership for cabin owners, support for the Yakima Nation right of first offer, which emerged as a thing about the time that Pacificor relinquished their license. That was like the last thing that happened before Pacificor relinquished their license to FERC. And that is the land from the site of the former dam site to the Columbia. That's about 260 acres. And the Yakima Nation has the right of first offer there. And it's all in the scenic area. And then we had strong consensus around the Forest Service owning Northwest Park, although there were people that would have preferred to see private ownership, but I think it's safe to say that we were in favor of that. And then river access for recreation and rescue all along, because we assume that whitewater recreation is going to go on. We also had some places where we just couldn't get to consensus. That's kind of the nature of this process. We did find strong consensus some places, but we had, for various reasons, we just couldn't come to something that you would really put forward as consensus on something. So like the trail development, there's issues on the Underwood side about some potential trail sites there. And this is all pretty well spelled out, I think, in the document that you've got. We supported handicap access, some trails that could be handicap access and so on, but where to put them and how to put them, couldn't decide. And then the big one, of course, is the location of a safer and fish-friendly boat takeout. Everybody agrees there must be one because the present takeout at the Columbia at the bottom of 141, the junction of 141 and 14 is unsafe. The bank is being eroded. There's no sanitary facilities. There's a million things wrong with that. Not to mention that they have to go over 2 miles of really good spawning habitat to get there. And the boaters don't like that, the commercial guys anyway, because it's very flat and it's uninteresting and they have to paddle. So that location of a safer and fish-friendly boat takeout was something that we just couldn't arrive at. The other thing is that old bridge that goes across there, that's County Bridge. There are strong feelings that it should be made pedestrian, bicycle friendly, and there's strong feelings that it shouldn't. So that's kind of outlined as well in the report that you've got. Where are we now? Well, the reason I'm here is because Pacificor has begun to negotiate about sale. And when we first started, they were not interested in selling. They were still exploring what they had to do to do their legal duty by their shareholders and stakeholders. And they just weren't interested in talking. But since then, they have now become interested in talking, and they are talking about sale. And so the sale of the park, which I think is something like 6 acres, is well underway and will probably happen. The right of first offer, the Yakima Nation, that is certainly going to happen, and they're talking with cabin owners about how to do that. The thing is that what we call the recreation or the conservation, some recreation aspects of this and what we call the conservation lands or the old lake beds, whatever you want to think of it. That is what's kind of still very actively being discussed. And if you can see this map again, I don't actually think this one is in that document. But this is a pretty interesting map, and it shows above the dam. And these are where the cabins are. And the rest of it is, this is the yellow is where the park is, and the rest of it is sort of land that isn't really clearly in terms of future ownership and future use. There's no clear direction, and this is where we think that the work that we did and the kind of consensus that we arrived at matters. And so we're interested in engaging in that discussion with PacifiCorp and potential future owners about what should happen here. So let me see, what's the next slide here? So, that's why we're here, is because we really proceeded. We didn't have agencies. We had advice from agencies. We had technical questions. We asked people, but agencies and elected governments were not part of the coalition, and more or less by choice. But at this point, it feels like the way future, or the road, to that fate of that land up there, really needs maybe some attention and participation by elected officials, by the community generally, about what should happen there. So we're bringing this to your attention, and happy to talk about it. Let you know, we don't know much because everything that's being done is confidential, of course. It's all confidentiality agreements. And so we don't have any direct information about details or anything that's really being discussed. You probably know that Underwood Conservation District had a grant to help with the process of defining parcels because, as you certainly know, the parcels involved are very old and the legal descriptions are difficult. And so there's been a lot of work over the last, 3 years now, 2 or 3 years on that end of the thing. What are we talking about? How do you describe it legally, and so on? I think that work is coming along, possibly nearing completion. Your planning department may know more about that than I do. But in terms of the negotiations over terms and prices and how much land is going to the cabin owners, all that kind of stuff, we know nothing about that. We're just not part of that conversation at all. But we have opinions anyway, so I'm going to stop sharing now, unless there's one of these slides you want to go back to for some reason. It's unfortunate. I do think that I don't think that this slide is in your packet, because this is a resulting from the work that UCD, Underwood Conservation District, has been doing, and we didn't have it in time to put it in the report.
I had a question about that slide. What is the bright pink?
That's cabin owners. That's where the cabins are, and
Okay.
it's roughly defined on this slide as cabin lands. I'm not actually completely sure what that means, but I think it basically means that is land that is proposed to be sold to cabin owners. Or it's one theory, one proposal that could be, but that land could expand, I expect. I don't know that it could contract much. It's probably about enough to give every cabin a reasonable amount of land. I wouldn't think that could shrink much.
And then
But
the
it's
green,
kind of one proposal about what could be done with that would be defined as land that would go to the cabin owners. I think each of them individually, I don't think there's any discussion of common ownership. At one point, everybody was hoping that Conla would buy the land and continue to be like a landlord or something, but I don't think that's under discussion anymore.
right? And the green outside of that, is that all still in PacifiCorp Holdings?
Yeah, that is the land that, yeah,
Okay.
that's 180, or I forget what the acreage is, but that is PacifiCorp Holdings, yes.
That's it for me.
Is there a bridge funder on those conservation lands that's been identified and willing to yet?
Well, I believe that there's a bridge funder involved, but I don't want to speak for them. I'm not part of their crew, and I don't have any, I don't have any ability to say much about it.
Pat, what's
I mean,
the next?
a bridge funder just to be plain here, a bridge funder would be somebody who would purchase the land with the intention of selling it to the final owner. And that is the part of the transaction that, we're interested in. I mean, we're what we call the Flume Line Trail is in the Yakima Nation Rofo land. That's been, when Pacific took the dam out, they put concrete there to make a flat place for trail. That's of interest, and there's just a lot of there are always a lot of pieces floating around here.
So Pat, what is the next process for the Lower Columbia or the group in essence to deal with those opportunities, as you put them so eloquently, to come to some sort of agreement either with the Yakima Nation? Because I know at least the trail that's in Skamania County is used by a lot of Klickitat County residents because of its nice, easy, gradual slope that gets you down to the river. What kind of opportunities do we have?
Well, I think that we have an opportunity to express opinions to Pacificor and or to the bridge funder or both. I think that anything that has to do with the land that's in the ROFO, we call it, the ROFO just because it's easy to talk about it that way, but that 260 plus acres below the dam that will certainly go to the Yakima, which is great. Any discussions about management or trail use or anything there is really not going to be up to the Lower White Salmon Coalition. That's above our pay grade. We can present our opinions and our plans, what we have thought might happen or might be good. But in terms of actually engaging in those discussions, we're not the right people to do it. And the land that's above the ROFO, that's above the old dam site, I think that there is a place, and this is the time for people to engage with that conversation. And I really in no way want to impede or oppose or any process that's going on. I am thrilled that Pacificor is willing to talk now about they're engaged in the sale. This is great. This is wonderful. And none of us on the Lower White Salmon Coalition, we do not want to make that process any harder. We don't want to put up any stumbling blocks. But we do think that in that part above the old dam site that there are some public preferences, and we would like to get those at least on the table and out in public and discussed in a rational, calm, consensus building way, right?
So what can we as the county do to help facilitate that? Because when I look at your list of objectives, one of those was, recreational use, which, that falls into that. But another one was the actual powerhouse. And I believe that the powerhouse will still be going to the tribe. But, and so, in what way can we help facilitate those conversations about what we'd like to see happen there in the future?
Well, I think, let me say about the powerhouse that it's, people have lots of dreams, or have had lots of dreams over the years about what it could be. My personal favorite was that the West Klickitat Historical Society could go there. But that building is burdensome. That building is really more trouble than it's worth. And it's in extensive ag, scenic area zoning. And so that means it's very limited use in terms of recreation, maximum of 10 parking places, and so on and so forth. So I really don't think that there's a whole lot to talk about the powerhouse, but that's just my personal opinion from, reading, paying attention here all these times. People really hoped it might be a takeout, but I kind of don't think it's really practical for that. And not to mention that there are people who live there along the road, Powerhouse Road, who are not crazy about a lot of increased traffic through there. So I think that the powerhouse is kind of a dud in terms of future discussion. the whole discussion about where that takeout should be, a fish-friendly, safe takeout place for whitewater people with sanitary facilities is very complicated and complex and difficult, and that's why we don't have any recommendation about it. So somebody who wants to step up and lead that, that'd be great. And it needs to happen. It absolutely needs to happen, but I don't really, we're pretty much focused on that 180 acres above the dam site. And what we want primarily is that there be public input there, that there be future ownership that will be interested, Forest Service can't own it because of all these legal reasons that they can't own it. They just can't. It would take an act of Congress. So they're off the table. We don't think there are any state agencies that are actually interested or other federal agencies that are interested. So that brings us down to local groups. And that's a little complicated, but we feel it's important for there to be public input on the planning. They got the restoration trail there. You've got important habitat along there that needs to be conserved. So management for recreation, for conservation, public input on how that all happens. How is the park, the Forest Service park? I mean, are they going to be the parking area for the restoration trail, which is heavily used? I mean, there's a bunch of coordination and stuff that has to go on in there. And yeah, it means that we need to get a good future owner there. So I guess, if you can have a look at our goals and see if there are things that seem reasonable. And I don't know, at some point, I think we're going to be writing a short letter that says, these are our preferences for future owner to help identify an appropriate future owner. Or it could be more than one. Could be more than one owner in there. There's a parcel in there that we've looked at for a long time as possibly community forest, working forest of some kind, And Mars might be interested. Skamania County might actually be interested in that. Who knows? There's, so it's getting down to the brass tacks now. There's so many acres, there's this, there's that, there's this that has to happen. And how do we manage to get to the right ownership? And I think the coalition is very strongly in favor of local ownership to the extent possible, nonprofit, but local.
Thanks, Pat. This is Commissioner Christopher. Thank you for the update. As I'm sure you're aware, my vote is always for protecting the waterways and the riparian areas. How much property again is that conservation area you were talking about? How many acres we talking about? Do you know?
I'm sorry. I keep the number outside of the cabin area and the park. The number that keeps bouncing around in my head is 180, but it's possible that this slide shows, if I could get it big enough that I could read it.
That's a good enough ballpark for me. I don't need exact. Do you have any?
100.
Do you have any kind of ballpark on
No. No, that's one of the big problems here. I see on this slide, it looks like 204, including cabin, and the conservation lands are listed at 181.6.
Okay.
But value is one of these things that is
Pacific Corp currently
presumably
owns
part of the
those, what you're
negotiations,
saying?
and who knows, huh?
Pacific Corp currently owns that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I mean, we are really thrilled, Pacific Corp carved out 39 acres of that some years ago, and what was it, 2018 or 2019, sold it to a developer. And that we were upset because that was some really valuable habitat.
Well,
And it was upstream,
where I'm
it was
coming from
water that
from
was
this.
coming in. It was transition land from a uphill habitat to downhill. It was connectivity. It was pretty upsetting. And they were nice enough to give us a chance to try to work out some other a way to buy it, but we just couldn't move that fast.
I don't know where my seatmates stand, but I'm very concerned if that goes to development and just becomes a bunch of homes. they just start clearing the stream banks and everything else. So
Oh, yeah, no,
I would say thank you for your hard work, and anything I can do to keep that scenario from happening, just let me know. Because I would rather, I would rather see it in conservation.
thank you. And, you know, Pacificor has actually been really good about all this. I have to say, I didn't start out liking Pacificor very much, but I have to give them some credit here too, as we move through all this. I think they'd rather see it go into conservation ownership as well.
And the Mid-Columbia Fisheries Enhancement Group got a grant in order to do a buildable lands inventory on that property. The area that had the greatest amount for buildable lands was the property that Pacificor already sent off that was in the uplands, that they sold that 40 acres. Most of the rest of it, you're within your 200-foot buffer.
Pacificor has been extremely diligent about doing their due diligence. Their legal responsibility is to the shareholders and their stakeholders and all of that, and they take that really, really seriously. So I think they wouldn't be moving in this direction if they felt that they could do better selling. You know, I just think that they've done what they need to do. So. But even as we move forward into conservation ownership, there's some questions and issues. You know, how do you put this together? So I really appreciate the time, and you know, I'll just stay in touch. If we get something drafted, maybe we'll send it along and see if it's something you guys can agree with or not.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, reach out if we can help you with anything, and thanks for all of your work.
Thanks.
Great.
And I'm going to duck out because it's 5:20 here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye. Travel safe.
Bye.
So would we have Rand? Yeah, I think we'll have IT is in the room, so we won't take up any more of your time today. Come forward, please. Okay.
So the issue that we've been having is the website is pretty much a capacity. And to upload the commissioner videos on Civic Plus is taking a lot. So our problem is utilizing too much space on Civic Plus to host meeting video uploads. The current cost cover used amount and additional amount for future loads exceeds $12,000. So I have reached out to Shelby, and she has come up with some solutions. Turn it over to her.
Sure. Okay, so we obviously don't want to pay $12,000, which is nearly the cost of the website itself that we pay annually. And that would just cover the data overage we are currently using with them, that they are kind enough to not come back on us for, and provide us a little bit for future uploads. But just about every commissioner's video is somewhere between 1.5 gigabytes to 2.7 gigabytes. And so every time you want to try and purchase like an additional 10 gigabytes, that's where we start incurring a lot of those. It's like $1,000 for them to host it. So the options I came up with that seemed the most applicable was to host it through a YouTube channel that the BOCC could run. We did a proof of concept test where I went ahead, and everything is privatized currently. There's nothing publicly available for it to, like, while we were doing this test, just to create a channel, put up a video on it, keep everything private, comments turned off, likes and dislikes turned off, things like that, and see, can we just embed it directly into the current county commissioners page and have that be viewable? What other options could we see with that? And it does work. I've tested it quite a few times. I was able to put up one of the videos that Elisa gave me for the commissioners meeting. It goes up faster to YouTube than it does through Civic Plus. Its rendering and processing only takes about 20 minutes for the video that I put up, which was about 4.5 hours long. So it's pretty quick. Lisa would be able to put up same day videos for your meetings. She could turn around and as soon as they're finished, we could get them up to YouTube before 5 o'clock at the end of the day. The other option is if you don't want to do just a YouTube, having them all necessarily embedded as a link to a YouTube channel, I would suggest removing all of the videos that are currently stored on Civic Plus to about 4 and then maintain a 4 rolling average of just the previous 4 meetings. That way we're not going above the data cap that we currently have. That won't cost us any additional money. Could also do both. You could do just keep the most recent 4 on the webpage easily accessible, but then provide the links for people to say, if you want to check out previous commissioners meetings going back to, I think 2016, we'd be able to create playlists and archive those into YouTube as well. And YouTube would not be the only, like they wouldn't be getting the only copies of these. They would still be on site in our Google Shared Drive. They would just be getting a digital uploaded copy of it. And the metadata, of course, would prevent any type of tampering. If someone were to, the tampering is no risk versus if they were to already public records request a video from the commissioners meeting versus someone getting it off of YouTube. Any type of tampering that would occur would show up in the metadata of those videos that we possess the original here on site that is unaffected and can't be taken away or, manipulated in any form. Those are the options that I came up with, and we wanted to see if it was all right with you guys to continue to pursue this. Is this something you guys are interested in doing, or would you like a different solution?
Cost to put it all on YouTube. Essentially, my thinking is there should be just a link on the website that maybe has the latest video that is actually a YouTube link.
Yes, that's what I did for the test page.
Put here,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, and I could meet with you afterwards to show you
YouTube.
the draft page that I came
Yeah.
up with on the webpage. It's not published, it's not viewable,
YouTube gonna charge us for that.
nothing. It's
That
free.
sounds like a
All of my
really good
solutions
idea.
are free. The only thing that they will take is some time and resources. I need to train Leanne and Elisa up on how to use the social media archiving program that we already utilize. We have open licenses available. This would not cost any additional licensing. Training them how to use that. So if a public records request were to come through, they would already have the tools that we possess to fulfill those. It wouldn't create that many records additional to what they already do.
But
And
if
then
they're all
training them-
already there, we should be getting less public records requests.
Yes, it
Because
should be saving
here's the
time.
link and they can just go watch it versus sending an email. Your
Correct.
productivity and efficiency should go up.
Correct. Yeah, so it would just be time training, getting them familiar with how to do the uploads. I also wrote in here, I would recommend coming up with an actual written and approved commissioner policy regarding how to upload them that should address things like the video uploads themselves. When Elisa and Leanne eventually leave, what are the stipulations for descriptions on the videos, tagging, if there is,
Turning
the
up
title,
comments.
turning off the comments, that type of thing. Coming up with those would probably be a good idea since it would be still creating a new potential risk option since it's a YouTube channel run by a county commissioner's office. And then any legal disclaimers that might need to be added, it might be beneficial to confer with Cannell to make sure if there's something that needs to be just added into that description, that's just a blast forward legal disclaimer that goes forward on every commissioner's video regarding it, those types of things. I could estimate we can get a viable, usable platform with this up and running within a week. Since the proof of concept has gone so well, I haven't had any issues with it. There's a couple of just cosmetic issues that I can work with Civic Plus to kind of get adjusted for it. And then long-term, getting all of the files just slowly uploaded and created into those. It's just as user time availability happens. With the rate at how fast these videos can go up, it does look like, I would estimate, if you were to work on it like in your free time constantly, probably about 6 months, you could have the full archive up and available and browsable on YouTube for constituents to review.
That brings up my question. You said we have things dated back to 2016?
I believe so. That's how far back the first video archive I was looking at does.
Interesting. I would, just the product, how much stuff she's got to upload from 8 years ago. I would check with I would recommend the board check with the prosecutor's office and remove the old stuff that no longer has a retention schedule. That might save a little bit of time and effort. If we've only got to save 7 years and not posting 8 or whatever.
And it would be a work from current to backwards, obviously. It would just be, we get all the most recent stuff and keep maintaining it. And then as time allows, just being able to, it becomes a background project to just, hey, we should keep working on these to get them up.
And there was no videos prior to 2021. It was all the audio recordings.
I believe so. So again, if we don't even want to consider those, we can say.
Well, and I think a lot of the audio, they audioed when they went and had outside meetings places. If they were going to the Dalles or Dallasport or whatever, they'd audio that whole meeting. But I was under the impression that before COVID, the only audio Lee recorded was the consent agenda. So literally 35 seconds a day. When I asked for public documents when I was a candidate that wanted other things, I was told there's no recording for the other things because the only thing by law that had to be recorded was consent agenda. And then they obviously recorded the outside meeting so they can do minutes later. So we might have a lot of short consent agenda stuff from way back.
And it might just be, we just focus on the videos in recent years. And then, anything else someone wants to public records request just falls under the retention schedule like usual.
I have used it in other counties and I like it. It's really easy to search.
The only other thing I had with it was while we're doing this test, everything is currently privatized so that, you can't just pull it up and search. You can't find the account right now while we're testing it. In order for me to, I guess the question is then if you guys would like us to pursue this, do you want it to have an embedded video on the web page that, if they navigate to a page on our website, they have the ability to see the most recent video and then a link to the other videos? Or do you just want a link that goes straight to YouTube that has, directly to our most recent uploads or something of that nature?
I would personally go with the link to the YouTube so that everything's in the same place and people don't think you can just get the one and then not keep searching. So if
Okay,
it
so just remove the videos entirely from the website itself and just link it.
It just saves steps too.
Okay.
I personally like the idea of having the current one on there that also links to the others, but I can totally understand what you're saying, that they might get confused that there's only one and that could lead to more. So while I would like it more my way, I totally understand the problem that it would cause doing it my way. So I'm fine with.
And then as that's going to take time, because you're going to have to go back through it, you're going to have to be more clear about it that, the most recent videos are going to be on YouTube. Civic Plus is going to have some of the other videos for a while. So until you make that transition, it's going to be a little convoluted anyways.
We can probably get a year's worth of videos up. I mean, I could probably get a year's worth of videos up within a month.
I just think in the description of your YouTube header on YouTube, you have it you have the explanation that we're
Correct, which
we're
is
data
again why
logging. It's gonna take time. If there's anything that you need that's not here, contact us.
yes.
Little
And
disclaimer
if you guys
on
would love to
there.
provide that language and those disclaimers, I can create the documentation that Elisa and Leanne can use going forward.
We
for-
like it much better directing staff to provide us with a sample of the language. I mean, I'm not the chair. I'll leave it to the chair.
But the sooner than later you can get us back underneath that cap is great. So the faster we can get some of that done, anything we can do to help.
Great. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Thank you for bringing the idea forward and for testing the idea before you brought it forward. So you actually brought a solution rather than just the problem.
I have one more thing. I'm gonna throw you this softball. You have to hit it out of the park. Don't catch it. You hit it out of the park like you just did. There you go. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Wendy, did you have something? Yes. You did, okay.
Got to take the hot seat.
Oh, we have to talk to them too?
Have to talk to them. Real quick, I'd just like to mention that this was all Shelby's idea. Well, I mean, with.
No, it was. It was.
We're giving her the credit, not the blame. Yeah, no, I mean, she came up with that no-cost solution
Yeah.
to what could potentially be an expensive problem.
Yeah.
So
We
thank you
appreciate
for
it.
your comments. So we're just here to ask for verbal approval to bring back a org chart revision for the IT department. As you know, during many updates, Randy's talked about his plans for the future of the department and how to structure it and how to create a path forward. And, you know, I like to use the terminology of a ladder, you know, career ladder, where we can grow our own, bring people in at all levels of experience and have a place for them to move up to. Currently, we have a system administrator and a box and a help desk 1 and a help desk 2. What we're asking for your permission to bring back for a formal decision is to take the system administrator box and call it a system administrator 2, same pay grade, no change in pay. And then create a system administrator 1 position at a pay grade 42. So the help desk 1 is at pay grade 38, help desk 2 is at pay grade 39. And then it's a jump all the way to 44 currently. And what we just want to do is add a rung on the ladder between the entry level and the top so it's a lower cost. And then we've talked about it, it's much like an apprentice under journeyman. Most people understand the concept that system admin 1 would be working under the guidance and mentorship of a system administrator 2, which is typically many more years of experience and skill set. So
one of the things that I'd like to add to this is that there has been a turnover. It's my understanding, and I've through talking to people, there's been a turnover of more than 6 people in the IT department in the previous 5 years before I started here. That is a terrible way to run an IT department. What I'm trying to do is create longevity within the department, bring people in and give them incentive to work up. Because the longer someone is in the IT department, the more familiar they become with the complex systems that we have. And this is an attempt to keep people.
it's also in the recruitment, should we continue to experience that, which I hope we don't, it gives us another place to bring somebody in who's on a different level on the skills, knowledge, and abilities ladder. So it's not entry level and it's not the top. So we're not asking to raise the grade for any position, just create one in the middle. So
I'm good with it. I think having the latter approach rather than, you know, you're either in top or bottom with nothing in between is, it's a great idea that you brought forward. Thank you for the solution.
thank you, Randy. Randy's been
Good
working
job.
on it for a long time, went through many
Yes,
different
he has.
options and variations, and we figured he thought this was the best way to go. So hats off to Randy for that. So
I think it looks great.
great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. So now back to, did anybody get a chance to check their WSU menu or have suggestions? Yay.
I'm fine with going over this. I don't know how you want to do it. If you want to go over the items one at a time, and if you get 2 commissioners agreeing on that item, circle it. Kind of scenario, or if you just want to I don't know how you want to go through it. I have things that I don't have a problem with, and I have things that I think is double and triple dipping. So however you want to go over it, it's fine with me.
I think maybe, do you have like your top 3 or top 5 favorites?
Almost everything I have is in agriculture and natural resources.
Okay.
I think I don't have anything in community and economic development. I think most of those are already out there and covered by multiple entities. The youth and families, I kind of felt the same way. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not a professional on any of this, and I'm sure if we miss something, somebody will tell us and we'll be able contact WSU and say, hey, by the way, we missed this and but the only one in the youth and family that I saw was farm succession planning. Everything else was agriculture and national resources, even though there are some things in here. Forestry, I think forestry people handle it themselves and we don't necessarily need WSU. Water resources, I think our natural resources will be handling that, and I don't think we necessarily need WSU. Integrated pest management, urban horticulture, and food safety, I don't think we need WSU. I could be wrong again, then somebody could tell me if we do. So I had of mine that I could see a use for, master gardener, animal agriculture, rangeland management, farm management, crop production, soil health. And then on the back page was farm succession planning. Because I don't know that we have any programs or services or WAGAPs or anything available for those topics. And I'm open to other topics.
Can you hit those again one more time? I was trying to write it.
They had, you don't
Your
have a
cop-
copy of this, got it. So I had, I believe they could be used for master gardener, animal agriculture, rangeland management, farm management, crop production, soil health, farm succession planning.
What are your thoughts, Jake?
We haven't had a master gardeners program in the county, and so are you hoping that they can start one?
I can see there's a need, not from me. I have a 2-acre garden. It's pretty big. But I also know a lot of people that don't and need help. And the only thing we have that even remotely comes into that is the little community gardens that are occasionally out there. I agree with you on the call. And sometimes they bring in a local master gardener kind of scenario. And I don't know for sure that there is a big community want for it. But I believe it's worth exploring whether there is or isn't. If they put on a couple of master gardeners and don't get any attendance, then focus on the other things. But
And I've had Master Gardener brought up to me several times. And I can say in the past, I thought it was a great program for socialization. And they do have groups that get together and they have events, and it gives people something to like and kind of meet for. And I know out of that program, they can also gain a certificate, which is kind of cool.
well, the other thing that I could find useful is someone to go to for, let's say, me. Or the me's out there that I ran into, when I go collect old straw or something. And the guy has a 2-acre garden like me and 50 fruit trees. But he's having issues with blight or leaf curl on his peaches, and he would love to know somebody to call to see what copper fungicide he needs to spray on there, kind of thing. And there's just nothing around here for that. So if you're a fruit grower, you know what to do. You have people on call. You have other fruit growers, but the standard mom and pop out here, heck, my Brussels sprouts get bugs. I don't know what to spray on them. It'd be nice to have a resource to go to for the citizens to be able to answer questions like that.
And I had done that before for my vineyard, and I got passed down the line to where I ended up in Ellensburg at WSU. So it'd be great to have somebody local.
Two things. What about like the buyer seller matchmaker program? Is that something that you'd be interested in continuing?
I didn't see that on here.
Well,
It's
it's
in-
part of economic development. I mean, it's
Buyer seller for crop.
it's the planning, organizing, facilitating for 6 years, strengthens the local food systems by connecting farmers and ranchers with buying institutions such as restaurants, hospitals, grocery stores, this program.
So that's kind of that,
Food trial.
yeah, that's that white salmon.
Farmers market, there's a bunch of
Well, I don't
different.
think it's the farmer's market. I think they call it something else. That farm to table
Yes.
thing they have down in
We
there.
have a pretty good effort going with all of that.
But
So
I would
this is-
be
this is a
very
little
curious
bit-
how much that organization wants WSU's help.
The other one. Some of these, these are pretty soil health, crop management. There's a lot of specific things within there that Hannah did that I'm totally fine with that person doing.
Well, I think whoever we're giving them, the way I understand it is we're giving them general ideas of what we want.
Correct.
They're gonna find the person that's best,
With programs.
most well-rounded in that general field. That person's gonna come in here and talk to the farmers, ranchers, fruit growers, mom and pops, and find their own little niche within these items. So if they look at your, farm to table, white salmon co-op thing down there and realize they can help them out, then they would. Kind of a scenario, but I think until you give a general understanding, do you want I guess I'd say, do you want a person that specializes in agriculture and natural resource stuff, or do you want a person that specializes in economic development? Or do you want a person that specializes in youth and families? Because I don't know that you find an expert in all three fields.
So I'm fine with the agriculture, working with the populations that we don't usually hit, kind of like our other WSU employee does. I do know that there were projects between environmental health and the health department with WSU that we don't want to lose. So I wanted to make sure that that's added in there.
Okay.
That staff's talking about. At least that staff is talking to me about.
I think we're all on the same page. So I think I can write a broad description to Mike with those suggestions and see what they come back at us with, including the farm to table, to see what they would do with that, if that's valuable for them and if they
Well-
feel they have a need there.
I just want to make sure, that's still farm, right? And so we
Right.
can still consider that under the farm. It's not economic development like what
Right.
Richard does. I
No,
mean,
I
we're
would- I
not
would
talking
agree.
about steel structures.
Yeah,
and
no,
stuff.
I would agree. If you can get a small farmer that gets to, slaughter 5 pigs a year and put them through that program, that's helping the people that don't get help elsewhere.
Or understanding what they can grow on their property.
Right.
That makes it valuable for them to join that program. Helping them with their soils.
And I was hoping to at some point that maybe this board could sit down and look at the past WSU budget. Light item by light item bars number, how much did we give for, supplies? How much did we get for travel? How much we get for this? And call 4-H in here, call Harley in here and ask her, how much of this do you use? How much of this do you need for 4-H?
Okay.
So that we can add that into the contract.
Okay.
So, and that would be a conversation that we'd kind of need to have Harley around and Jen around and.
My crew, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or
she
maybe
took-
we can direct Jen to contact
Yeah. and
that
see what her
supervisor and
capacity
find
is.
out what,
Okay.
I mean, I would think Harley would know how much supplies she orders or. Well, we have one of those close by too,
And
a fast one.
they have all that up at WSU, her past invoices and stuff, so maybe if Jen reaches out.
Recommendation there,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll make sure that I ask Jen to reach out and see what the budget
And then
look like
to
and
me,
what it
it's
should
like,
be.
I want to minimum fund that. And as we see who they bring in as an extension, and build that rapport and build that trust, then maybe we fund and grow and adapt. But I also want whoever they bring in to come in and tell us, hey, I think you're missing the boat. This thing over here, we should be doing that, and you told me not to do it. Okay, I want to know from them also, so.
We still can't, we can ask them to do things. We can't direct them to and not do anything. They're not our employee.
We just need to design a program and they can provide it. And come to an agreement on it. And I think we have a good start. And I really like the fact that it matches up with 4-H and it matches up with the fair and the fair board. And it's our
I think
local
it matches
culture.
up with the majority of the residents in the county.
Yeah,
too.
even white salmon.
Yeah.
I've had questions about Master Gardener from the white salmon area.
And I think it doesn't double dip. It doesn't get into economic development and McCad and WAGAP and,
Broadband?
and broadband. And, you know, by all means, if
They're all
the
moving.
broadband subcommittee sees the WSU has funding available, they can reach out to WSU and by all means collaborate. But I don't know that the WSU person needs to be focused on something that broadband boards are already focusing on and McKed's already focusing on. I think it muddies the waters.
So I'm good with going forward with this right away and I'll get an answer back from Jen and from him for you. Good.
Yeah, we need to get
That
this
was
moving
easy. Thank you.
quickly.
Yeah. Richard, you came to visit. What can we help you with?
So I've got two small requests, one from us. The integrated plan grant, we've got a pretty good breakdown of it. We still haven't been able to contact the new grant manager for us. I'm trying to reach out to them within the next week for that, for the Klickitat Mill site. But I was asking if the county commissioners would like to do a small workshop next Thursday, not this Thursday, but next Thursday, in regards to that line by line before we start going into contracts. Because once the reason why we're doing such a big focus on the line by line with the integrated planning grant of like what exactly we're doing is that those are going to be considered contract deliverables when we write it up with ecology. So whatever we write up, we want to make sure that it's exactly what y'all want to do.
So our workshop is not this Thursday, but the following Thursday. And do we have room? Because I think we asked you to come back.
Oh, yeah, we got plenty of room.
And I'm hoping it won't be more than 15 to 30 minutes.
You're gonna provide copies, paper copies for at least two of us. I don't know if the third
Yeah.
one wants a paper.
Yeah, so we're gonna have the copies. We're gonna rewatch the breakdown from our last update to make sure we get everyone what they're requesting. And in addition to that, I've tasked out Chelsea to grab just some samples online on what some of those things are on the lines, so you can see like, okay, we say, for instance, the bathymetric studies, like, oh, this is what this is.
Mhm.
So maybe there's so we're gonna be talking to Ali out of ecology, see if we can't get some examples of some products of other types of projects across the state.
How late do we currently have that going next Thursday? I've got a 1 o'clock special meeting.
So far, just the Klickitat Mill site, integrated grant is all I have so far on that workshop.
Oh,
So-
perfect.
Right. And hopefully we can put our WSU stuff on there if I get it. I'll try to get it timed to put it on there.
Okay.
We need to be done by March.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
And speaking of WC, I still have not signed the 2-year extension. I will shortly, but I'm still working. with
Oh,
them.
for the, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
but we have everything that was requested on within that contract, so. And then lastly, and I brought this up, I'm gonna be honest, I apologize for my memory. The Water Conservancy Board, I was doing the meeting minutes yesterday. Got them sent out. Are we ever meeting tonight at 5 PM? My question is they had a request for me to ask all 3 county commissioners for the SEPA official for the Water Conservancy Board. Now,
The
that-
request was what?
if I could be the SEPA official for them. There's some training that's required for it that ecology does. They only do it once a year. January 16th to the 19th was this year. We had the snowpocalypse that had occurred. So there's no way I was even gonna get
Who
out. of
was
the
their
driveway.
last SEPA official?
Dave McClure.
How often do they do a SEPA?
And all the meetings I've seen, I don't know if they've ever done a SEPA. I'm not, just from what I've seen, but I have a very narrow
There's a SEPA done on every transfer.
of water application.
I would
water-
imagine there's a SEPA done on every transfer, and I can't imagine it's very time consuming. But I would caution the connection between the individual water board and our employee.
Okay,
That's where I kind of have a little bit of a worry about it.
I think, I'll pass along the word. I think from the last discussion that they had a ecology. Ben Carr had recommended Lisa de something. Lisa de Vera. She is basically she's like the Dave McClure, and she runs the water conservancy boards for, I think it's Chelan County and Douglas County. And they might, that might be an option for them moving forward. They're still kind of exploring.
Yeah, I like that option because it gives,
Keeps that separation.
it keeps the separation, and it keeps any accusations from, we have our employee fast tracking permits kind of scenario. This is ecology now looking at it. Don't look at me. I prefer it that way, but that's just me.
Makes sense.
Okay.
So just so that the public knows, Dave McClure was not acting as a county official in that capacity. That was outside of the county official capacities. He was acting as a contractor for many years for the Water Conservancy Board. And in the last few years, he was just volunteering his time. And so he was the SEPA responsible official, but was not acting as the Natural Resources Director.
Might want to keep it cleaner.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I just want to pass it along. So thanks. Those were big.
I thought the money that this board had authorized funding to them was for them to have or hire someone to do essentially what you're doing now.
I'm not certain.
I mean, the board authorized the money. We know what it was.
I know there's $10,800 and they were gonna use that.
So the dollars that were sent over there were used both to pay for the SEPA responsible official and their duties, but it was also used primarily for the training and training requirements and sending people to the trainings that they have to, the annuals, the annual required training and everything else. So it was used for both. So yes, some of that $10,800 was
I would
used.
love to see a breakdown on that.
And then some of it, in my idea, was going forward in the future, they have to have support staff. They're talking about the checking account and managing meeting minutes, and they'll have to have that support staff. So we hope to dedicate that money each year to keep them an independent board that can take care of themselves.
She said we.
Well, we
Not-
are.
Not a we, well, it's a non-unanimous we. I would hope that the board would charge transfer fees,
Yes.
that it can be self-supportive of any administrative staff and any training it needs to do off the fees it charges. That's where I would be.
In the future.
Okay, sounds good. And I can send all three of you the meeting minutes that I put together. They're not approved or anything like that. They're in draft form, but it does have a breakdown of what they did last year for trainings and stuff. So
Like you said, that part of how much of the money that this board gave was actually used for trainings or what it was spent on. I mean, we have a fiduciary responsibility to at least know what money's being spent on before we authorize it.
okay.
And I believe that was included each year when they did their annual report at the end of the year.
Okay. All right. Well, sounds good. Thank you.
Yes.
I do have Jim Croft, the Natural Resource Program Director with WSU
Oh.
on Zoom. If you guys have
That's
any
great.
questions for him.
Sure.
Oh, looks like I'll just stay.
Kind of listen. Yeah.
Jim?
Natural Resource Program Director, is that what you said?
Natural Resource Program Director, Director of County Administration. County Extension.
Great. Are you there, Jim?
I am. I can't unvideo me, but I can certainly speak. How are
That's
you
perfect.
this afternoon?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for checking in.
So yes, I have a couple different jobs within WSU, County Director for Pierce County Extension, Natural Resource Program Director statewide, and Director of County Administration. So I do work with all of our county directors across the state.
Great. So did you listen to our Zoom a little bit earlier with our talks about WSU and where we might be going? And do you have some suggestions?
No, I did hear you going through the menu of program areas and did get an idea of where your interests lie and resources that we have available and others that you've engaged in the past. And it has been a while since we've had the Master Gardener program. So anyone that remembers or knows Linda Williams, she was the de facto coordinator for that program. So that has been a few years, and I'm sure we still have some legacy Master Gardeners around in the community that probably still help their friends and neighbors, but we haven't had the formal training there in a few years.
No, and it was a great program, and Linda's still around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. I haven't talked to her.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to her in a while. So yes, it is in most of our counties. Pierce County, we're in the middle of the training. We have about 350 volunteers in Pierce County.
Oh, that's great. That's quite a few. That's good.
So, and you also made comments about Harley and getting a handle on the 2024 budget and beyond. And yes, she'd be an excellent resource between that and your county department that processes travel and purchases, see what the past records show in terms of travel needs and any purchase needs. And I know the purchasing would be, I'm sure, small office supplies, any IT upgrades or help. And beyond that, I'm not sure what she has required in the past, but I know there would be good records of that either in your county department or through Harley.
Great. And we'll get that together before we send you a proposal of what we've talked about.
Okay, that's sounds very reasonable.
Good. Good. Anything else?
Not on the top of my head right now. Mike Gaffney did have other commitments today, so we kind of trade off across the state. So anyway, we both are a wealth of knowledge in this area, so feel free to tap into either one of us. But I know you've been working with Mike lately, and that's perfectly good.
I do have a question. When we get, I guess I'd say, appointed a new director for our county, is the plan to have them living in the county, or are they mainly going to be by phone if people need them kind of scenario? Or do you have any idea?
I don't have any idea at this time. We will be putting hiring plans forward in the future, and that's up to our unit leads. And ours for Ag and Natural Resources is Karen Lewis. And I know she takes into account vacancies across the state and where we really need some coverage. And we have been going through funding difficulties around student enrollment and labor contracts in the university. I know, I'm kind of preaching to the choir on labor contracts and things like that when I talk to county commissioners. So anyway, we're waiting for budgets also. And so we will, and Mike Gaffney actually is the unit director for community and economic development. So this position has been located in his unit. So I would work with Mike on that just to get a better read on if and when. And, many of our county directors now, or more of our county directors, are leading two counties. They have to live in, they typically live in one county or the other. So, it's always hard to dictate where somebody lives, but it's always nice to have them resident in a county, but they have to pick a county if they are leading two counties.
Right. Well, to me, I understand if they're not going to live here as long as they show up once in a while.
Right. Yes, I understand.
Mr. Anderson, did you have something?
Oh, I just wanted to follow up on that. So we may enter into an agreement for costs for the year without knowing who or if we will have an actual extension agent in the county.
Yes. And
But it's reimbursable though.
It is reimbursable, so when you have a reimbursable contract, WSU can only bill for the services rendered. And that would be for Harley, where there's Klickitat County is committed to the salary, WSU is committed to the benefits, I believe, for that position. The county would provide the local support for operations. WSU would pay, for if she has to go to somewhere for a professional development conference or something like that. So,
Oh, see, that's good.
and I don't even know if there's an account set up for those kind of things. So, you have the purview over any of the local expenses, since somebody there has to sign off on it. And we would only bill for what we are due to.
So when
bill.
I think I just read between the lines, so that when we do the budget for Harley, we should be looking at pens and paper and, gas to run around the county and copy machines, but not training, travel and training. The WSU does travel and training?
Quite often, if it's something in the county, that typically is picked up locally. If she has to go to a statewide 4-H coordinators meeting, like frequently in Ellensburg, that is normally covered by WSU, and everyone there is normally covered by WSU for that.
That is
And it's
fantastic news, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and if it's the overnight stay and things like that. And county travel budgets vary from county to county, and a lot of the county commissioners may have a restriction on out-of-state travel or out-of-county travel, out-of-state travel, on meals, on lodging, and things like that. So if there's an understanding of what is allowable to the employee, that makes it that much easier.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else,
Nope.
Mr. Emerson? No?
Thank you very much, Jim.
We'll talk to you
Okay,
soon.
you bet. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, with that knowledge, I would like to make sure that we add that into our language in the contract, that we will cover training inside the county. But since it sounds like we've been covering training in Idaho and whatnot that WSU covers, we should probably save our dollars and use them elsewhere.
Okay. I added it to the want list. Mr. Anderson, anything for you?
Oh, you.
I just have
You sure you don't want to come back in 10 minutes and?
You need to come forward.
Yes, thank you. Casey got detained in a meeting and asked me to come down and try and get verbal permission to post a clerical admin 3 in public health, it'd be in the White Salmon office. I believe the person in that position moved over and took another open position, so Director Quinn would like to post this.
So it's not a new hire, it's a filling a position.
Refilling.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Let me guess.
Thank you, Commissioner.
that was easy.
That was as easy as you've ever been.
Okay.
I got a question. It's just came through. I'm looking at our US Bank stuff. It says NACO Washington DC $575 credit. Were you gonna go to DC?
I was going to DC, and when I registered, I was apprehensive anyhow about going, whether it was valuable for me to go or not. I went ahead and registered, so I caught the early registration and they didn't raise the price. After I thought about it, I did not feel that this was the season for me to travel, that there was nothing at the conferences that I was going to bring back from DC that would be valuable for the work we're doing right now or for the public. And so I chose this season not to go to DC.
That makes sense, considering also we blew through our travel budget last year pretty well.
Yeah, and we need budgets for everything we can get this year. And unless, there's a lot of local trainings and stuff that we can save that money for, that I've gotten very valuable.
Can you do most of NACO virtual too?
Yes, you can.
Are you planning on doing any of it virtually?
Yes, I do. I've already connected. When we went to Spokane, I connected with the NACO rep, and she kind of pirated me. And so I've been working with her and working through. Once we get this schedule under control, I feel like I can be more involved. And they're not a real heavy involvement. It's once a month, which helps.
Okay.
But I do think it's valuable to be involved, and I'm really looking forward to that. Whatever happens at the federal level, impacts state, just like Wasack, and impacts us. And I know Mr. Sauter was heavily involved and he'd been a commissioner for so many years. He understood it all and he brought back a lot of valuable things with that long-term relationship he had.
Well, I'm glad you're gonna do the zoom into the ones that you
Yeah.
think are valuable.
Yeah. Save all the money we can. Great. Anything else? You girls have anything?
Yeah, I did forget. So I sent you all the email from Billy Bear.
Hmm.
The 3 board appointments for space. And I go over it and put them on the board.
Yes.
Did it even have the names of the people on it?
Yeah.
I looked at it. I mean, I was,
Yeah. Jason, Blaine, Cameron, and Lee, I think.
yeah. No, I'm fine with moving forward. I was
Yeah.
just, when I read it, I was like, wait, where's the list of the names? Usually it's called out, so.
That's great.
I'm fine with it.
Anything else for today, Mr.
Uh,
Cooper? We
Yeah,
meeting?
I guess
Yeah.
I'll bring it back up again just for clarification for later. And potentially a vote. I would make a motion that this board does at minimum 9 town halls around the county per year.
And why the number 9? Excuse me.
Discussion yet?
Oh. Motion.
You want a second?
I'll step down in second. So we can have discussion.
I'm glad you brought this up. Actually, the Hood River Bridge Authority, we just had a Facebook Live event. That was, it's seen a lot of people watching it. When you do the town hall, most people, like you're stuck with people's dates and times and whether they can make it or not. I do, I know you don't have it in District 3, but in the last 2 weeks, I've been to a Houston BZ Community Council meeting. I've been to a Trout Lake Community Council meeting. I'm always going to all these other meetings. I would love if the board did attempted a Facebook Live event where it's facilitated, which means that the people have to, submit their questions online like how we did it. And then it allows us all to respond to those questions. And that would be like the starting one of it to see how that goes and then to do another one. And then it's hitting the whole county and it's recorded and it can be put on our new YouTube channel. When we get it. And then the idea is because a lot of people end up just watching it, they don't actually ask the questions. And then you can have it so that questions can be asked ahead of time. And then you also have it so that questions can be asked during the middle of it. The facilitated group had came up with questions to be asked in case if nobody asks any questions. And so you've got this whole thing. And luckily with the Facebook Live event for the Bridge Authority, we didn't have to go through any of that. There were just lots of questions and then so like you would start answering a question and then somebody else would ask another question on top of the answers. And so it made it like a dialogue, much less a, he said, she said, poke the bear, play political and all that. It was actually just informative, for the most part.
Would your idea of that be that we're all sitting at our house for this event? Or all sitting here in front of one camera?
We did it so that everybody was at their own locations when they did it, so that then you would see our faces rather than, we don't, the Bridge Authority doesn't have a beautiful, expensive program.
Did you have a dedicated host that would, okay, here's the question, who's gonna take this question?
Mhm.
Who would you foresee it being that?
Well, I figured that was gonna be where the conversation I wanted to have today with you guys was at, is we would use some third party. One of my thoughts was we could use Mayor Marla or another elected. I know I've done for like, people have used me during the last election cycle, to be the facilitator, for the, League of Women's Voters. So that, but that's political. This isn't political per se. Like, of course it's political, but Mayor Marla has a lot more experience doing Facebook Live events. So I was going to say we could, use her with staff so that maybe it would be like a training if she'd be willing.
I like the idea of being able to do pre-questions. And then if you can't be there, your question gets answered, and then you can go back and you can watch the Facebook event later. Timing is everything. And getting people out for evening meetings, it's really tough. Sometimes you can meeting them to death. And for our schedules too, for me right now, to say that I could add town halls to my schedule this year would be very, very tough for me. I'm picking and choosing through my boards. I have 12 boards. And it's very hard for me to figure out how to fit everybody into where I need to fit them as it is. So I like the Facebook thing that we could have pre-questions, we could be live, it could be recorded, and then people can come in whenever they can come in from working or from their night job or from wherever they're at, and they can look it up and watch it any day, anytime that they want to.
And just because it's Facebook, you don't have to have a Facebook account in order to watch it or participate in it, which is really nice. That was something that you can.
Right, so, I guess I'd say I'm not opposed by any means. Whatever I can get, I'll take. The reason I came up with 9 is because I didn't figure people wanted to do a lot of traveling in the winter months, the holidays. And 2 feet of snow. So I was going to avoid, November, December, January. I am not opposed to the Facebook idea. It does concern me because at least in my district, I do have a lot of seniors that do not internet at all. They show up. They don't have internet. They don't have Facebook. They have no way. So we would be, I mean, I'm not trying to accuse, but it's the only one I can think of in my head is disenfranchising them from the opportunity to participate. Now, granted, I guess they can participate weekly through comment to us at the board if they want to show up. But I like the Facebook thing. I worry that there might be people that don't get to participate because they're not near as quick as Miss Pat is earlier flipping through her screen. I have a lot of people who don't know how to work a phone.
And maybe,
but I'm more than willing to try it. I like the idea of a facilitator, so it's not us. I like the idea of, it would prefer if a question went to somebody, if a different commissioner has a different answer, all 3 commissioners get to respond to the question, or say, I agree with Commissioner Anderson. I would add 1 point, kind of scenario. I do like Commissioner Zoller's idea of all the questions are pre-screened. So you don't have, especially if we're going to start this in a political year. So you don't have off the cuff political questions that might become a problem with being a candidate for office and actually trying to serve as a commissioner, and you can't really bridge that without a legal problem. So at least to start, I would say I like the idea of pre-screened questions where we can pull the political ones out.
Well, and you can submit it prior to, but you can also submit it in the chat for the facilitator to decide, is this an appropriate question for the commissioners, or is this a political question for a campaign conversation? So that they can screen that out. I mean, some people aren't happy about it because they come to one of these and they want to fight with you and they want to get a reaction out of you. But again, this is about, I mean, honestly, this is about sharing all the good things that the board has done over the past years, as well as taking questions about different directions that people want us to focus on. If you go to each community, and granted, you go to a community council meeting, you might have 2 or 3 people from the public show up to a community council meeting unless there's one thing that gets everyone riled up, and then you have 30 or 40. So when we just have a town hall, but it's not on a specific subject that riles people up, they're not gonna come for the most part. I mean, they got food and family and everything else to do.
Well, and I like the idea of give it a trial run and see how it goes. And then if we do have a section of population that is left out and we hear about it, maybe a special town hall in their area because of they don't have that. We could attempt to, but we also have to think about staff and moving staff and what we do with their time and energy.
I do think, I like the idea, I mean, and I was gonna propose that anyway, if we did it in person town halls, that they are recorded so people can watch it later, that we do it in the evening when people are actually off work. I would like it better if we were all in the same room, but I understand we all live in 3 different places. And I don't know that I'd want to, force either one of you to drive halfway across the county for a Wednesday night or whatever day we pick. Facebook Live event. So I'm open to what I can get.
So do we want to take that to workshop and bring back a defined structure that we can all approve and get a little closer?
Okay.
That work?
Honestly, I don't know if we need to take it to a workshop. I think we can ask staff to, I mean, I guess the only things we need to do is set someone in charge of who's gonna find the facilitator or who we'd like to use, and then pick a date. Or have staff work to pick a date. I don't know if we need to workshop it. I mean, do you want to wait 2 weeks before we even have this conversation again?
With Facebook Live, I'm not familiar with the use. I would think we need to reach out to IT, to Shelby, so she's more of the.
This is exactly why I was saying Mayor Marla, because she does it. That's
Right,
right.
but it would be, eventually the video would need to come in our hands.
Yeah, so
So it can
what
get
we did
uploaded.
last time is Mayor Marla hosted it because she has the right account and everything. She hosted it. And then she got recorded. It was supposed to be being done by, there's a story, but it was supposed to be being done by the third party, group to do it. They had technical difficulties. Marla had to fire hers up. We did it on hers. Once after the meeting's over, then she emails or drop boxes it over to be then put on the website. It's pretty simple.
And since you're suggesting, Marla, are you going to reach out to her?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I
Okay.
talk to her all the time. But I just wanted, before I talk to her about it, I want to make sure that you guys are.
Just to
Okay.
make sure she doesn't kill
Um,
us for her schedule.
Yeah, I'm good with seeing how that goes. With your conversation with Marla, I'd be very curious. Days of the week. Do we do it on the first this day or the first that day? We're gonna need to look at our calendars to make sure that it jives, because it's like, my nonprofit meets the first Tuesday of the month. Well, obviously, if we do it on that day, I'm a problem. But any other second Tuesday, fourth Tuesday, I don't really
I think
care.
staff can find
So-
a date and maybe set the goal with it being 3 weeks out. Was that a good time frame?
Okay.
I'm fine with starting in March. I'm fine with starting in April if we have a goal and a time set. But I think the date that becomes synonymous with it, the first whatever, the second whatever, everybody needs to know that. They all need to be okay with it. Whoever's facilitating it also needs to be okay with it.
Right, that's what we have staff for, to
And
work the doodle.
Are you thinking multiples of these or just one test drive, see how it
Well,
goes?
I
And
think
then,
we need to do a test drive and
Okay.
see if anybody shows up, and if nobody shows up, well,
yeah,
our marketing wasn't very good, but I will put it out there that I'll market it on my Facebook groups and everything on the west side of the county that I'm a part of, and
okay.
as long as you guys will do your part, and hopefully we can get the word out, and with Marla in the city, that'll help too on the west side, so.
Great.
So let's do that. Let's number one, check with Marla. And then
Find a date.
figure it out with staff. and then run whatever date by at least those 4 people, us 3 and Marla, to make sure we all agree on a date. Well, apparently if we're only gonna do 1 test run, I mean, it could be a month from now.
We'll start in March.
Third week of March.
I mean, usually I've always thought of most town halls are wrapped around subjects, right? Subject matter.
Yeah.
You do a town hall and it'd be around this or this or this, like if we did a town hall around budget, well, we might not have anybody sign it.
Right, but that's why
Well-
the purpose of a in-person town hall is, say, when you go to Bickleton, they're gonna be talking about roads and solar panels and fire, and where the people in White Salmon aren't gonna be talking about that. So it's going to make it very interesting having it countywide, that the questions could be just completely from dog ordinances to whatever.
I like that though too, because I've heard so many times talking to people about different subjects, say Bickleton with solar panels and stuff. White Salmon didn't even know.
Right.
So it was very interesting to them what was happening there and why that happened. So it's good to have
Yeah, but I also
a more county
I
look.
don't know that the majority of people over here care a whole lot what's going on over there, and I'm not sure that the people over there care a lot.
You'd be surprised. I think that, I mean, people on the west side, they care about solar panels in maybe a different way, but they still want to know what's going on over here. I mean, I get a lot of questions about pump storage in White Salmon. Well, why do you think they would care about pump storage? But they do, so.
Okay, with that, I guess I can't pull my motion because it had a second. So,
Can we amend it?
Just let it die.
Okay.
after a second, I don't know that I can amendment.
So
I
we
think
will,
we have to take a vote on it and I'll vote no. Because we have plans to do it a different way.
all those in favor? All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion dies.
With the comment that we are gonna switch it to Facebook Live or try one Facebook Live.
Okay.
And we don't need a motion to do that. It's just a direction to staff.
Right. No, I just want a description underneath the motion
Of why we did it.
of why we voted no, because we planned on changing it to Facebook Live.
I'm sure the Facebook Live will be read underneath it.
These
too.
are all the road documents. They're getting amended. Do we sign any of
Yep,
these?
not until you get new
But
ones.
I didn't think, okay, so that's your back.
Is there any other items that you might be getting if you wanted on the workshop?
Let me think about it. 'Cause I know I will come up with something in the next.
I have to chuckle.
Mhm.
Um,
I know I have items swirling around my head that need to
It
go
will.
there.
I'm just thinking back to what was on the our interview. So what else came up? There was the Board of Adjustment came up during our interview, but I think we're done with that.
I don't know that I am, but to
Okay,
move
let's
forward, I
add-
need to get a legal opinion and I can't get an answer to any of my legal opinions. So I'm gonna ask that when I do have a legal opinion, that I can bring it forth on a Tuesday, have you guys read it and sign off on it. That way I can actually get an answer. Because when I just send them over and fill out the legal opinion form, they don't get answered because he is, and this is not a slam, so don't take it that way. But he has said he works for the chair and the board of the whole. So as an individual commissioner, it's not working. Even though our board has always said we will support anybody's legal opinion. I feel that it's gonna either need to come from the board of the whole on each one I ask, or come from the chair to get an answer.
If you want to write, I mean, if you're not getting any answers, by all means, bring it from front of the board and we can discuss it and we can all 3 sign off on it. I got no
That's all I'm
problem with that.
asking, and then I'll have an answer because it could entirely be that way. There's one little piece I need to check.
And then the other thing that of course came up on the call was the short-term rentals and where that was going. That got brought up earlier today.
Mhm.
Is that something that you two would want to talk about in
Yes.
a workshop?
Yes, it is for me. Yeah.
If we feel there needs to be more discussion,
There does.
well, I think we're at an impasse, but if we feel there needs to be more discussion, I'm open.
Yep. You want Harley to come also?
I would love to see Harley and Jen and a printout of the WSU budget by bars number so that we can, at minimum,
Give Harley a budget.
put a third of some things in there to give something and do a trial and error and kind of a scenario and give them some kind of a budget in there that's overseen by Harley and whoever Harley's new supervisor is. I do wonder if this board could set some kind of policy to respond to public comment to protect our soon-to-be new planning director. I don't know if there's anything this board would like to do, but I fear that whole scenario with the new person could turn into the nonstop
Lisa's gonna change it.
Oh.
phone calls, nonstop questions, nonstop attacks that Moshe had to deal with. And I would like to keep the new person here instead of scaring him out the door. So, but I don't necessarily know what the answer would be.
I have no idea how you could create a policy. Sorry. I have no idea how you could create a policy. I think that I feel very comfortable with my conversations in this interim with him that he knows exactly how to deal with situations like that.
I would hope so, or I would hope that if it turns out to not be the case, that we will do what we can to try to protect them.
We will.
Okay.
Where were we ever at on the tips for country living printing prices?
You're so funny.
I'm just going through the giant list
We
I
have
have
not
here.
had time to even think about that document. We have been overwhelmed. Yeah. No, and it's on the list. We'll get
It's on
there.
your list.
Yeah.
That's kind of my point. There's a lot of things on your list. So if we need to do them on a Thursday, let's.
No, Leanne and I have an agreement of where we're going with it. It's just a matter of cleaning off everything else and prioritizing. And that doesn't have a great high disasteral priority right now for some of the other stuff we had going on. There are only so many minutes in a day.
Yeah, and
You're not forgotten.
the rest of my list, you guys are not interested in, so.
Mr. Anderson?
What do you mean? What else is on the list?
Everything else I brought up on the list, the board has voted not to proceed with, so I will just keep it on my list. For a future date, potentially proceed with.
Would you like to go down through the list and we
We
can,
do not want to rehash all of the old debates, unfortunately.
Yep, let's move on.
then please?
Do you have anything?
No, I think we
And
brought up
I'm
enough.
good for the
things.
day.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I've got a 5:30 to 8:30 tonight and I gotta get some TC stuff done for the Salmon Recovery Funding Board, so.
Great. Good.
With that, Madam Chair, having nothing else before the board that we can remember or think of, I would make a motion to adjourn the regular meeting for the week.
Motion in a second. Any discussion?
Just noting there are no workshops scheduled for February 15th.
All those in favor?
I,
Hey.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.